Live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You're watching Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.
Welcome back to Shake It Up with the Sharks. We have a fish out of water, I should say straight out of the tank tonight. We have Brett Raymer in the house. Thank you, my friend. We're so excited to have you here. And just like I've watched you on TV for years, building tanks. I'm a big shark lover, as everybody knows. But you've done amazing things. So thanks for coming on.
Hey, my man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Thanks. Absolutely. So,
Definitely.
yeah, place is great, and
Thanks.
Excited to be here.
Definitely, and especially because you're an East Coast guy, and we have Sal on the back as well. Two East Coast guys. I'm like, you know what? You're more than welcome. Come on over, bring some sleeping
You know what's
bags.
funny is I am an East Coast guy, but I've been in Vegas actually now longer than I grew growing up on the East Coast.
How many years?
So I've been here about 27 now. 27.
Holy crap! You've been out here a long time.
I got here in '94. Actually, it's probably closer to 28. So
Really?
Yeah.
What brought you out here in '94?
So, you know, my dad, he bought a vacation home out here in Vegas, and he called me up one day. He's like, son, you need to come check out Vegas. I think I'm going to move there. So I'm like, Dad, you're going to move all the way across the country? He's like, yeah, I want to retire. The weather is beautiful. There's just some opportunity. And I said, all right. So in '92, I came out on vacation, and there was like two clubs, I think, in all Las Vegas. I think it was like
two?
the Shark Club and the Palladium.
There you go.
And I went down there, hung out, had a great time with some friends. We enjoyed it. I saw the opportunity that was there. My dad was like, hey, I'm going to move here. If you want to come out, come on out. And then 2 years later, I was like, I'm really tired of New York. It snowed in '94, up to the gazoo, and I was stuck, and I just didn't want to be there anymore. So I was like, you know what, let me go check out Vegas. And I just always down for a change. I never always minded in life doing something different, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, let me go try out Vegas. You know what, the worst case scenario? I just moved back, right?
That's good. A lot of people out there, they don't embrace change. Most people run away from it at the end of the day.
I totally agree with you. You know
Yeah.
how many of my friends that I was like one of the first to leave. They've all eventually, you know, made it out of New York, maybe Long Island, Staten Island, you know, a few ventured down to Florida, the ones that are brave.
It's pretty typical.
But moving to the West Coast, you know, 29
Totally
years
different.
ago to Las Vegas in the middle of a desert was just unheard of. And, you know, like I said, when we got here, there was probably 1 million people back then, and now we got, you know, over a couple of million. So it's doubled or tripled in growth. since
Yeah, I
we've been
think
here.
it's an easier transition if somebody thinks about it now. You have the restaurants, the strip, and all kinds of entertainment and whatever you like to do, Vegas has to offer. But back then, I mean, you had just a handful of things going on. They're like, what the heck?
Yeah, I was captivated by the mountains, you know, like growing
Yeah,
up in
I'm
Brooklyn,
with you.
growing up in the streets in the city, you know, never really getting a chance to venture off to Vermont or, you know, anywhere where we could see mountains. I just came to Vegas and I was like, man, the sun shines every day. I go, there's opportunity and you get to be surrounded by beauty. And that's kind of what led me here. So that's kind of where we started. And then I got to Vegas, and I really didn't have a clue about what I was going to do when I got to Vegas. But
What was your first job?
So, first job just in general in life?
No,
or
here in
here in
Vegas.
Vegas. So my dad had met my partner Wade through, my dad wanted an aquarium. So Wade built him an aquarium, and then they started talking. The company Wade worked for was kind of going south. So my dad was like, you know, let me talk to my son and see if it would be something he'd be interested in. So that's kind of how the whole Brett and Wade thing kind of got started. My dad put us together, and he put up the money, and then that's how we started ATM.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out of here. And that's where all tanks started coming in.
Yeah,
and
so in
everything else.
'97, so I moved out here like the end of '94. Took me some time to kind of get adjusted. And
Get
then
acclimated to
'96,
everything.
'97 was when we basically started ATM, and that's when it all started from there.
What was the strip like at that point? Was it action packed on the weekends? Or
Yeah, I mean there was
whatever?
one or two clubs in Las Vegas back then. I think we had, you know, maybe Club Rio. There was Club Utopia. They started moving along. There was no such thing as bottle service.
Yeah,
you know,
that came along after.
Drinks were $4 a piece. You
Man,
know, I mean the buffets
those
were
were good days.
The buffets were $2.99.
Yeah.
You know, I mean now they're $69.99.
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
yeah.
But I guess obviously things have changed. They've evolved so much in Las Vegas. You know, from when we got here. You know, Buffalo Road was a dirt road back then. And, you know, Buffalo's a full-on streaming. There's malls out there now.
Exactly.
And so, like I said.
We watch this city grow.
Oh, yeah, we watch it grow.
That's pretty amazing.
Watch it
Definitely is. Now, when I came out here, it was 2012, and it was already built up. I've watched some changes, but people like yourself that really watch that growth, it's pretty amazing to see. I'm sure to look back and be like, man, going out to Ann Road, this didn't even exist.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Even living out, I lived out in Lone Mountain for a while. Even living out there for the last 10 years, that was kind of like, that was like so far out back in the day,
Yeah.
But now it's like,
no big deal.
I can't wait to go back out in that direction. But yeah, it's no big deal. So the one thing I love about our city more than any other city out there, what's been intriguing to me is that it's like 2 degrees of separation. We have like 2 million people, let's say, that all live within 45 minutes of each other.
It's true.
And we have no surrounding support, meaning there's no cities that live outside of Las Vegas within hours, right?
That's true. Yeah.
We all are a community within a community, and everybody supports each other in Las Vegas. So that's really intriguing. Whereas you go back east, you got Brooklyn, Queens, you have millions of people in each borough, and then those boroughs come into each borough.
That's true.
It's completely a whole different game here. And you have your ups and downs no matter where you go. And I've met a lot of good people, a lot of bad people, but for the most part, I've been lucky and I've had great experiences and met a lot of good friends out here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, you're a smart guy. I think being out here in the city, you can identify people pretty quickly with their true intentions.
For sure. Growing up back east and having that East Coast mentality, street guy, always growing up in the streets, that was a great thing to have coming to Vegas.
Yeah.
But the good thing I like is also too is that everybody came here, I think, to try to at least better themselves. At least most people. You know?
Exactly. I think you get a lot more out here in Vegas. Growing up, at least in Jersey, where I was South Jersey, you really weren't surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurship, somebody building something, working at getting better, surrounding themselves around amazing people. And you have accessibility to a lot of that here in the city.
Oh, totally.
And I'm sure you experienced it throughout the years you've been here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, ups and downs for sure, but for sure, definitely, the camaraderie, especially when we had the tragedy here, just to see how the community pulled together for all the different things, whether it's the sports teams, that just that in itself, you can see what kind of city we've become, just seeing the teams just flock here and then the fans just being embraced. Look, I'm glad the city got the Raiders,
Yeah.
I'm a Cowboy fan, but at the end of the day, I'm happy for the city because it's something that it's good for us for the growth of what we're trying to do, whether it's, you and what you do, whether it's me and what I do, whether it's my girl and what she does. By bringing sports teams to our city only brings in the value of everything that we're doing.
It does. It's a lot different where I grew up in South Jersey next to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, you go there and you're rooting for the opposite team. They're not all about growth. If you're not an Eagles fan, they're practically going to kick you in the jaw.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over here, everybody embraces it, comes together. They say the exact same thing you said. I'm actually this kind of fan, but I support it for our community. So it's definitely community driven, 100%.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the reasons why I'd like to do when I do some of my entrepreneurship and things that I think of, I try to do things within the community because I like that personal relationship base, right? We were brought up in back east being on that one-on-one with someone. When you talk to somebody, you talk them straight in the face, you talk directly to them. So having, a community space that's our own where we can go and hang out and have an office and talk to people, you always meet new experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the great thing. You're not sitting behind a computer, you're not sitting behind a desk, you're out in the public, in the community, and you're able to talk. So that's why, I had donut shops here in town. I love that because I'm able to go in, talk to people, show them what we have going on. Spend time with them. That's
definitely
important.
People want to come in and get a donut and a coffee. You want to make a relationship, and you get to know that person, and you know everything about them at the end of the day. You definitely
and you never know where that relationship could lead.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be a stranger that could walk in, that could be, a homeless guy, and you never know, that could lead in an amazing direction. And then you could have somebody that's a billionaire that walks in and can change your life forever.
Exactly.
So, you just always got to, in that kind of business, you be yourself and you always treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, you treat everybody the same.
Absolutely.
You don't know who's standing. I just talked about this the other day. You don't know who's standing in front of you. Stop judging a book by its cover and what kind of shoes they wear and whatever else. It is human nature at the end of the day, but drill past that and just get to know somebody. Because you have no idea. I mean, that could be one of your best friends or best allies, or introduce you to your wife, for example.
Absolutely.
Who knows what it might be?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I'll tell you a funny story because you talk about appearance, right?
Yeah.
So growing up as a kid, my dad, we always grew up pretty well, had money. My dad, he would flaunt it in certain areas, but then in certain areas, he was just didn't care. And him being dressed up and how he dressed, he just didn't care.
Yeah.
So I remember him telling me a story, like he would wear his sandals and he'd wear his cut jean shorts and he'd have like a, I don't know, maybe even a half shirt for all I know. And he'd have like an envelope stuffed with, you know, a bunch of paperwork. And he'd go up to his attorney's office and he'd walk into the attorney's office and the girl would be like, oh, no, I'll take deliveries over here. You know what I mean? And
Really?
he's like, no, excuse me, I'm the client. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you know? And he's like, no, it's okay, you know? But like I
Really?
said,
Yeah.
it's kind of that appearance thing,
Yeah.
and you never
People
know.
just assume.
You never know who's
Which is
standing
the
in
worst
front of you.
thing you can
know?
do, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't want to judge a book by its cover. If you say the wrong thing to somebody, quick story, I was with somebody, amazing broker, at an event, and I had an old business partner with me. He's like, oh, what are you, brand new realtor? I'm like, man, he runs the company, man. And he's just like, I just ate my words.
I
He's
know.
like, that's who that is. I said, yeah, be careful what you say to people.
I always tell
Yeah.
people, just be careful.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely. So you went through the transition. Let's talk a little bit about where most people know you from in the show on TV.
Sure.
As far as Animal Planet, Tank.
Yeah.
What was that? What were those experiences like? Let's go with Tank.
So in 2000, about around 2008,
Yeah.
we had already been open for about, we opened in 97 is when we opened. So we already had been open for about 11 years. And I was watching Orange County Choppers one day and I had this epiphany that I could, be on television. I'm like, I always wanted to be famous, right? So I was an athlete. I just had multiple knee surgeries. That didn't go in the right direction. So I had to, pivot and figure out how I could do it. So I'm like, that's it. I'm watching those guys. I'm like, yeah, but those guys, that's not really how families are. I go, families are more like married with children.
Yeah.
So I went into work and I'm like, man, you guys don't understand. We got a TV show. We can make aquariums. We could turn them into rocket ships. We could do this. We could do that. And they're like, yeah, that's the worst idea I ever heard. So
Really?
yeah,
Who shot you down?
Oh, everybody.
Just all your partners.
Oh,
you
my
name it?
business partner, my dad, my sister. They didn't want to hear
want
it.
nothing
They
to do
just
with it.
they were like, that's true. No, we're never going to be on TV. That's like ridiculous, And I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. We got characters. We build great product. So they didn't want to hear it. So I was just like, you know what? Forget about them. So me and my friend Chuck was sitting next to me. I'm like, Chuck, let's go down to UNLV Film School. Let's get the professor on the phone. Let's figure out how we can get the professor to tell us how to do this. So we get the professor. We wind up getting a meeting with him. We get him to come to our facility. He comes and he's like, okay, you guys, pretty cool idea. He goes, there's the yellow pages. Get on the phone and start calling production companies and just pitch them your idea. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we start pitching. 9 months go by and people start laughing.
You're just pounding the phones
Pounding
for
the
9
phones,
months.
9 months.
Hundreds of calls a day.
I don't know about hundreds, but
Quite a few.
we'll say quite a few, and
Yeah.
just basically going, hey, this is Brett Raymer, we wanted to see if you guys would be interested. We have an aquarium company. Hello? Like people kept hanging up, no one wanted to hear it because people were thinking aquariums, back
Yeah,
then, what are you going to do with aquariums?
It's that idea that's never been presented. You got to get that right person.
So finally we get this guy that comes down. He's like, you know what? I'll do it. So he films the pilot. He shops it for a year. So a year of phone calls, a year of him shopping it, and he doesn't sell it. Fortunately, the contract that I had with him, we get the footage back if he didn't sell it. I take the footage, I put it away, and I'm thinking about I'm working at it too hard, man. Just if it's going to happen, it's going to happen just because either I'm going to have lucky, someone's going to approach me, but right now, it's just too much.
Yeah.
So
let me focus on what I do.
I put it away. I go back to work. My friend calls me up from college. He's like, dude, I'm moving to Vegas. I'm like, all right, come on down. Like, what have you been up to? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. I throw him the disc in, and he's like, dude, you got a hit TV show. And I was like, okay, now we're getting
Yeah,
somewhere.
there you
Finally,
go.
one person. All
Yeah,
right,
right.
here we go. So then he goes, well, let me send it to my friend, and let me see what he says. He works at Fox 5 News. So we send it off to him. He gets it. He calls us up the next day, and he's like, got a really good thing. I'm like, oh, great, 2 people.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm like, I feel like we're moving at a rapid pace. I'm excited about it. And all of a sudden, I get a call from this lady, Nancy Glass, and she was on 60 Minutes. She used to interview Jeffrey Dahmer. She was big in the industry, and she's like,
Holy smokes.
oh my God. She goes, this thing they sent me is amazing. She goes, but we have to re-edit it, recut it. She's like, sign a new contract, and we'll make it work. So I'm like, oh boy, another contract. Here we go. So 2.5 years have gone by, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, you might as well do it.
I send it to her. She gets it. She cuts it. She sends it back to me, and I look at it, and I go, now this is the one that's going to make it. I go, this is amazing.
She just had that special touch.
She just had the
tweaked it.
editing, exactly.
Really?
Just needed it to be just done right. So she sends it off, and 3 weeks later, we get signed by Animal Planet. And then we wound up being on television for, we shot 156 episodes. We shot more than Friends. We were in 190 countries in 35 different languages.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so we basically transformed the aquarium industry to where it is today.
Yeah, and I'm sure people that really liked aquariums, you spiked that up and they're like, man, I got to have that. Look at what they're doing. It just created so many more ideas.
I could tell you stories of, I go to conventions and people have thanked me for saving their stores, for saving their family, for,
Really?
I mean, we've had people talk about saving their life. I mean, everywhere from soldiers to being away in Afghanistan to, watching tanked overseas to saying how we brought them to another place that they'd never been, while they're fighting wars, So
you're really making a difference at that point. You probably never thought that was even going to happen. You're like, hey, I'm doing something cool. People like it. Now you got people calling you and crying, basically.
Oh yeah, it's just the whole experience has just been tremendous. To be able to meet the people I met, travel the world, see the fans, and to this day, the show still airs pretty much every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I don't think there's a person out there who doesn't know what the show
I still have a
is.
fan base, that's all over. So everywhere we go, we still see all of our fans. I take pictures with everybody. It's just,
That's awesome.
It's a good feeling because you know what?
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're still doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
So
changing people's lives.
Exactly.
Definitely. What was the most interesting aquarium you ever did? Or one of your favorites?
So one of my favorites is one of the ones that we actually got to swim in.
Really?
It's in the Keys.
Okay.
It's in Marathon Key, Florida. It's called the Aquarium Encounters. And I was able to take my girlfriend Melinda and my family this year. Last year we went to go actually swim in it with our family. So and feed sharks through so there's an acrylic panel up. You swim on one side and there's sharks on the other. And
Really?
you get to take big old smelt and feed them through the window to the sharks.
What kind of sharks do they have?
So they have nurse sharks, they got tiger sand sharks, but the nurse sharks are the ones that come up to the window and actually grab you. You might get a tiger sand every once in a while, but
really,
yeah,
I didn't realize there's a tiger sand shark.
Yeah.
Really, get out of here. So they're not as aggressive.
They
as
look
regular.
aggressive, but they're not as aggressive.
Okay, same thing with their teeth.
Same
like
thing
the
with
sand,
the,
sand
yeah.
teeth. Really, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Man, I've been studying sharks for years, and that's what
Nice.
I missed.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of good sharks. There's wobegongs, that walk with their paddles.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that on the bottom. There's over like 450 species of sharks.
Man, that's pretty wild.
So
to back up, as you grew up as a kid, were you always super fanatical about fish and shark and everything else? Like you're glued to the TV?
I remember vaguely having like Jacques Cousteau books, but where I really got the niche for aquarium was my stepbrother.
Really?
Was into aquariums, and he used to have them all over the house, and I didn't have to take care of them. I was just able to enjoy them, and he took care of them, and I watched.
And you just watched, but it
I
wasn't
just
like you're
watched.
super crazy or anything
Wasn't
like
really my
that
super
about
craze. It didn't become my craze until I got into the business, and I saw an opportunity to become famous.
And then you really ran with it.
Right. So now I retired from the business in 2019. I no longer build aquariums. I did that, like I said, from pretty much from 97 all the way up until like 2019.
Do you feel like at this point, if you see one more aquarium, you'll lose it? You're like, I've had enough.
I just had enough of the business aspect. I was with my family for a really long time, traveling, working with them, filming a TV show, having
makes
a
sense.
business, doing everything with them for years, and never being on my own was something I needed to do for myself.
It's time to branch out.
It was just time and it wasn't even about money. It wasn't about anything. It was about health.
Okay.
It was about mental health. It was about, making sure that I was able to be there for my kids, be that strong person for my girlfriend.
Just
be
have
there.
your head together.
Yeah, I mean, it was draining me.
When you're working and you're busting, no matter what field you're in, when you're in the game and you're pushing and grinding and getting up really every day, it definitely does something to you.
It took us, it took us 2 to 4 weeks to film an episode, and we're filming 20 episodes a year. Think about how much time I'm filming and traveling around the world, missing birthdays, missing this, missing that. Just people don't realize how much work it is to make a TV show. That's just a TV show. What about your business and your 60 employees and your other entrepreneurial stuff, and then being a dad, and then being a boyfriend, or just be able to be there for yourself.
Exactly.
It's tough, bro.
No, it definitely makes sense. I'm sure you had appearances and everything else, and
Absolutely.
events. Put that on top of everything else. And speaking of where important to yourself, I constantly say it, the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. And that's the one we push to the back burner most of the time.
And I did that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then finally it just hit me one day, and I was like, you know what, enough's enough.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So that's
So
it.
I ended it, and then I started really doing things that I enjoy.
When it came to your mind, what did you say, hey, I'm going to work on this? Was there something in particular, or you said, let me just take some time for myself?
I needed to work on just getting away.
Gotcha.
You know, like sometimes
Separating yourself.
Separation. That's
Yeah.
you could use that word, separation. Absolutely. I needed to separate myself completely from the situation that I was in, and put myself into a situation that I wanted to be in.
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, you're definitely happy now and
Oh
excited.
yeah, things are going great now for sure.
smiles
Absolutely.
Ear to ear, yeah, definitely. And great memories, I'm sure. And once again, anytime you're in the grind and hustle,
Wouldn't trade it.
yeah, good for you. I believe.
Wouldn't trade it for anything.
I
No.
sincerely believe we never have regrets. We have experiences at the end of the day, and those experiences, some are good, some are bad, but they help build us up towards a better future if we look at them and apply them properly.
And they're still going.
Yeah.
You know, like the show, like I said, the show's on every day. I still see my fans. The experiences are still there. Maybe it's not the same experience, but it's still an experience because you know what? People still come to Vegas. They still travel here to come see us. Like you said, we're going to talk about I'm opening a restaurant.
Yes.
I did that because now fans can still come and visit me.
When you left, tanked and said, I'm going to work on myself, how long did it take you to say, hey, you know what, a restaurant's what I want to do? Or were you thinking about that for years prior?
So, like I said, we're in 22 now, and I left in 19. The restaurant, on my birthday of this year, I got the keys, which was 4 months ago. I've always had this idea of opening up this like sandwich shop, but the time was right for this little Italian pizza place. The people that so as obviously we're talking about the restaurant. So my love of food is what brought these chefs in. I met them before I've eaten their food, so I brought them in. We're business partners because of their food. You know, so I want to bring people my experience of the food that I love and bring that to Vegas. And these guys are from Brooklyn, they're from Queens.
I mean, best food around, definitely. I hear it all the time. People have lived out here in Vegas. There's nothing like East Coast food. And it's the truth. It's definitely a different style out there. And somebody like yourself that spent many years out there in New York and so on and so forth and came out here and bring that style is like amazing.
Yeah, and I like I said, it's also my love of food. You know,
Yeah.
growing up being a foodie and eating, and we always say we're in the hospitality business because when you come to our restaurant, right, you're gonna get hospitality. You know,
You're
it's
gonna have
not
the experience.
customer
Yes.
service. You know, the chef's gonna come out. It only seats 25, 30 people. You know,
What's the location in Vegas?
so it's Silverado. It's East Silverado Ranch in Bermuda.
Okay.
It's 467 East Silverado Ranch.
And this is Stallone's Italian
And this is
Eatery.
Stallone's Italian Eatery, and it's a New York style pizza, authentic Italian food deli. Like we don't serve chicken wings, no cheesesteaks. There's
None of
no
that quick,
French
fast,
fries.
whatever stuff.
Correct. So there's
Yeah.
nothing frozen. You might have to wait a little bit, but that's the great thing. Like when you wait,
Yeah.
the chef's going to come out and talk to you. You know, people are going to be there talking to you. You know, you're going to feel like you're a part of Vegas, but you're also going to feel like you're in New York as well.
Oh, that's amazing. There was something somebody said to me many years ago when I was a kid in the car business. They said, Johnny, you don't want to trust food that if it's 2 people, it takes 10 minutes, or if it's 50 people, it takes 10 minutes. Forget about that. Get the real stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, the people have this stigma about the water with Vegas and, you know,
Yeah.
the pizza. Look, I've eaten pizza all over town, and not because it's our pizza, but I would put our pizza up against anyone's pizza. We use good ingredients. You know, we use cheese that most people use cheese, let's say from a distributor. We order our cheese from a specialty person back east. So yes, we pay a little bit more for our products.
But you're getting the quality.
But you're getting what you pay for. At the end of the day, you're not going to walk out of there saying, man, I didn't get what I paid for. So, and the taste is going to be just phenomenal. So,
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the water because when I first moved to Vegas, they said you won't enjoy pizza because the water we have out here, it's completely different. So it's not necessarily that. It's how people just cheap out and get the cheapest ingredients or cheapest cheese, correct?
correct.
That's what it comes down to.
I mean, it really comes down to is you know, the dough does have a little bit to do with it. Obviously, the chewiness, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
But your sauce,
texture.
your cheese, and all the main ingredients of what you're using is what you're really getting your taste from.
That's amazing. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. I thought the whole time, I was like, oh, it's the water. It is what it is.
Yeah,
I think
and that's the texture, more so the texture. Even our bread. So we had bread shipped in from back east, and our bread is as close to New York bread as you're going to get. And we have one company here that makes this bread only for us.
Really?
Yeah, it's only for us. It's seeded or non-seeded, but I know because I'm in New York, it has a tad bit of a chew compared to a New York bite. but that's only because of the water. But the taste itself, the actual
Everything
taste,
else is the real deal.
on par with New York.
So when you got together with that company, you said, hey, this is what I need. I need something special just for me.
Right.
Then you probably sat down and spent...
We went through 10 companies.
Okay, so there you
before
go.
we could find one company to make what I wanted.
Really?
Yeah. I was really adamant about the bread. We use boar's head cold cuts. I mean, so I know the meat's going to be fantastic because that's just what East Coast uses. So the only way you could ruin a boar's head cold cut sandwich is with the bread. So I told everybody, there's no way we're not going to have the bread of breads. So that's what I wanted to make sure of.
You want to have everything good in the middle and then just slob out on the outside. It's
exactly.
Like, this makes no sense.
Everybody could have the same lettuce, tomato, cold cuts, but not everybody's going to have the same bread.
No, I'm with you 100%.
That's important.
That definitely makes sense. Do you do anything as far as special events or anything like that?
So yeah, we do. So
parties?
Right now, we just opened the doors literally a couple days ago. And we have a catering department, and the place is available for rentals. Birthday parties. We're going to be open from 11 in the morning till most likely till midnight. But if people want to rent the place, we do morning meetings. All of our TVs are connected together. So let's say you wanted to come and have a real estate meeting with your agents. You could then take a PowerPoint, put it up on all the screens. We could serve a breakfast for you, and you could have a breakfast meeting there.
So you're breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
We're only open for, if you wanted it for breakfast, you could come in and rent it for breakfast. But we're a lunch and dinner place. Lunch and dinner. We have slices, so you can just walk in, do a couple slices and a Coke.
And you're good to go.
And you're good to go. Everything's going to be, we have rolls and different things that you can use for lunch, so that you just want to come in and get something quick, you can.
All right, very nice. I love it, definitely. As far as the restaurant now, do you plan on opening more here in Vegas or other areas?
I would love to.
What are you thinking about?
Our concept is it's all digital, so there's no waiters and waitresses. So when you come in, you either order from a kiosk, or you can order from the girl that's there, or you can sit down at your table and scan and order from your table. So it's fast.
Did you do that because what COVID was going on, or you want to do that for other reasons?
I think we did it for a combination. Not really so much of COVID. I think, like I said, I knew COVID was coming to an end, but I think it's more so for the fact that everybody got used to what was going on during COVID, right? People started becoming, very digital. Like, even myself, who's, 52, my kids, everything is digital with them. Yeah, I even started becoming ordering on the phone. Yeah. And I wanted to try to roll with the times and try to be on point. So I didn't want to be, our food isn't fast serving because it's fresh, but I wanted the ordering process to be fast. Yeah. Because then if you order fast, and then the food only takes, 10, 15 minutes, and that's everything that you're getting that you order, then you're going to have a great experience. So that's kind of what we were looking for. Fast experience when you walk in, get your order in quick, get it to the chefs, let them make it for you, and then either you take it to go, or you sit down and eat.
So when you walk in, you have a host right there. She'll sit you at the table from there.
No, you just sit down on your own. You don't host.
Okay.
There's no host. You walk in, you either sit down, you either order from the kiosk, or you can just go right down and sit down, and the girl who's standing there and say, yeah, open seating, go ahead. If you want to sit down, you're more than welcome to sit.
She just to direct you at the end of the day.
And then you scan a scan bar at the table, and you actually start a tab from your phone. Okay. And then you put in your phone number, and then we text you, and you pick it up at the window.
Is there a bar service area as well?
So there is an area that it's basically like a bar service area where all the pickup food will be.
Okay. What about as far as drinks?
So we have beer and wine license will be about 6 weeks.
Okay. Yeah,
and
always
then
takes time.
we have fountain drinks and also regular soda, in bottles.
All the normal stuff.
Right, all the normal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as that goes. And what direction do you want to go with the restaurant? You've only been open 4 days. What are you envisioning happening over the next 12 to 18 months?
So I think, definitely looking to open another one on the other side of town, at least next.
What part?
Somewhere on Summerlin. I don't know where exactly, but like I said, this is on, and there's a few different areas we can go, but I like that area. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people. I've been on that side of town for 20 years, so I think it'd be advantageous to us to open something on that side of town.
Yeah, definitely a busy part of town.
But like I said, the one thing with me is that before I go out and look for investors or I go out and look for people, I always like to do it myself first.
Okay.
I like to have skin in the game, because if I'm going to come to you and I'm going to be successful with my first loans and it's self-funded, you're going to look at me and be like, hey, this guy's self-funded, he's successful. What do you need for your next one, next 5, your next 10?
It's an easy move.
So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now. I'm hoping that this one's going to go in the right direction. And if it does, hopefully get a couple of people to come on board. And then who knows, maybe we knock out 5 at once,
Yeah, definitely. It makes sense. It's really admirable. A lot of people are like, hey, let me pull money here, pull money there. But you're like, I think that's an East Coast thing. I got my skin in the game. I got my elbow grease in it. I'm rocking and rolling. I built this. It is on fire. Now let's move on.
And our numbers are good. You know, like the whole setup, like the whole digital marketing integration with all of what we capture and data and how we market and how we do everything. It really, if you know, our numbers are not tremendous. You know, it's not like opening up a franchise or opening up, you know, we really looked at our numbers and felt that this could be something in the long run that over time could be successful with multiple locations.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm really curious, coming from New York, do you want to open one? I'm sure you do, or plan on it over the next year or two in New York?
You know, I mean, look, having something back east, that would be amazing because that's where we're all from, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the direction that we want to go.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think keeping them out here and then maybe going into Florida. You know, look, everybody I think from New York's in Florida already, so.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? People, especially all that we know that we grew up with, everybody got tired of just being in New York. The prices just went through the roof and everything
Yeah,
that
it's
had been
cost
done.
living.
So, I don't know, like I said, I don't really like to rush, but I do think that Florida has the ability, you know, like even Orlando, the Boca area, you know, that kind of
Beautiful area.
So we'll see what happens. But like I said, right now we're focusing on Vegas.
Yeah.
And we just, like I said, we just opened, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
There you go. Well, good stuff. Well, I appreciate you coming on, my friend.
No, I appreciate you having me for sure. And like I said, if any of your fans also have a podcast every week that launches. It's called Going Fishing with Brett Raymer. It's on all the mediums, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. They can check it out. Basically, we relive each episode, and every week we try to bring on a different guest.
Definitely. So that's awesome as far as if you're a fan of Tanked, come on, check out the podcast. That sounds amazing. And you're going to go through every single one of those and what your experiences are like building out that tank and what you went through.
Correct.
What the struggles were and what happened.
And even some of the stuff behind the scenes that you never even heard of, you know. And then we call some of the celebrities. We've had, you know, Johnny Damon on, and he's show us his tank now. I was in Tampa last week, and we were live from the Rumfish Grill 8 years later, so I went back and showed the aquariums what they look like. So there's some good footage on there, and so like if you're a real fan, it's a great experience. Like I said, we're not on TV anymore, but you can listen once a week and get some new up-to-date stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. Going fishing, I absolutely love that.
Well, thank you,
What
man.
better place than with the sharks? So I'm
You got
digging
it.
that, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks
So,
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So as far as people coming down the restaurant, will they bump into you if they stop down and get a slice of pizza?
So 100%
I love it.
over the next couple of months, you know, I'm going to be in and out. I usually try to come down there just to meet people and just say thank you very much for stopping in, because like I said, community means a lot to me, and me being able to go to the community and meet people and just show them I'm appreciative, that's just something I like to do. So I will be there and
Perfect.
meet and greets.
So if you heard that, if you like pizza, the address one more time.
467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, Suite 125.
Don't miss it. Get your pizza, everybody. Brett, thanks a lot for coming on.
My man, thank you.
Till next time, shaking up the Sharks.
Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.